Zoey Felix, 5 years of age, was kicked out of her dilapidated family home in Kansas and forced to live in a homeless camp in the woods where tragically she was arred and murdered. Kicked out of the family home by her scumbag piece of shit mother. Her name, Holly Jo Felix, 36 years of age. She has a criminal record, surprise, surprise, which includes aggravated battery causing bodily harm with a deadly weapon, driving under the influence with a child in the vehicle, possession of stolen property, domestic battery, a litany of criminal history. She was once placed on an 18-month supervised probation. Arguably even worse, her household that she ran was in an awful condition. A dilapidated trailer home, covered in feces, no water, at times no electricity. 5-year-old Zoey Felix was very much known in the community because she was often left unsupervised. She was left to wander the area. Multiple neighbors looked out for her. Multiple neighbors fed her, clothed her. She would ask them, "Can I stay? Can I stay?" On multiple occasions, the police were called out to the family home due to concerns over neglect. Welfare checks were performed multiple times as recently as September. Each and every time, the police said, "You know what? Everything looks good to me. Sure, you got a bit of feces. Sure, you don't have water. Sure, you don't have electricity today. These things happen. Well, Zoey looks happy. She looks healthy. So you stay here, Zoey." The Kansas Department for Children pretty much did the same thing. They were called by multiple concerned neighbors multiple times, yet at no point was Zoey Felix taken away from the family home. She was left there with her mother. That is until around 2 weeks ago, Zoey Felix's mother, Holly Jo Felix, decided to kick Zoey out of the family home. "You can't live here anymore, Zoey. Go away," said the heartless bitch mother to 5-year-old Zoey Felix. Can you imagine that? Saying such a thing, thinking such a thing, kicking out your own child at the age of 5. What the fuck? The mother told Zoey to go and live in the homeless camp, which was in the woods very close to the trailer home. "Oh, you know that homeless camp over there with those drug addicts, the hobos that are mentally ill, the criminals like me? You can stay with them. Go and live with them. You're too much trouble for me." Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to besmirch all homeless people, but the reality is the homeless population is rife with the mentally ill, drug and alcohol addicts, and criminals. We know this to be a fact. So a mother put her 5-year-old daughter amongst such people, amongst such a situation, and tragically, Zoey was arred and murdered. The prime suspect is the scumbag that you see in the photo on the video, Mikael Wayne Cherry, 25 years of age. He's believed to have known Zoey, and he has been charged with first-degree murder and in connection to this awful tragedy. Kansas authorities have seen fit to hold him on a $2 million bond, which I applaud. That effectively means that it's very unlikely that he'll get out of jail prior to trial. We're told that the Kansas authorities are currently considering whether or not he should face the death penalty if indeed he is found guilty of this terrible, barbaric savagery. I'll throw my 2 cents in there. Yes, Kansas, give him the death penalty. Give any scumbag like this the death penalty. That's my preference. I know a lot of people prefer these scumbags to have the opportunity to suffer and rot in jail. My feeling is the quicker and the sooner they're wiped off from the planet, the better. But the reality is, even when people get death penalty, they have access to all kinds of appeals. It's a very long, drawn-out process and also a very costly process. So it's not a good situation either way. But regardless of that, I do hope this scumbag, should he be found guilty, suffers extensively in jail. We're told that Zoey was found by Topeka police at a gas station. She had life-threatening injuries. She was taken to hospital, where tragically she was pronounced dead. A medical examiner was able to confirm that she indeed did suffer from SA. She was arred. I don't use those full terms because of YouTube. Kicked out of the family home, which was rancid in any case, but kicked out by her own mother. Told, forced to live in a homeless camp in the woods very close to the family home, amongst psychopaths, amongst a child murderer who Zoey knew. Perhaps Zoey trusted the prime suspect who allegedly betrayed her. And Zoey was betrayed by everybody. Everybody apart from her neighbors. So again, multiple of Zoey's neighbors contacted police, contacted the Kansas Department for Children on multiple occasions. There were multiple welfare checks again up until mid to late September. So police got to witness the family home in the dilapidated state that it was in. Again, no water, no electricity, covered in feces. The Kansas Department for Children also got to visit, I believe, the premises, the home. They had ample opportunity to rescue Zoey from the awful living conditions that she was in and from the awful banshee witch who was her guardian, her mother. But police and the Kansas Department for Children, they both failed Zoey dreadfully. So with that, there's certainly questions asked. I believe investigations are in place, ought to be in place, concerning the police's actions. And I would say, more importantly, the Kansas Department for Children, their actions. So hopefully improvements can be made to help protect children in similar circumstances in the future. We're not told if any other children were involved, which I guess indicates that there weren't any other children involved. And I do, of course, have to say full condolences to all family and friends and the neighbors of the victim, 5-year-old Zoey Felix. They're all going to be devastated, apart from, of course, Zoey's mother. She is seemingly an absolute psychopath. I mean that in the layman's sense. I don't know for sure, obviously. That's pretty much all the information that we have. And with that, I've got to say that there's a glaring omission, which is we're not told within the couple of articles that I've read through of any charges being laid against the mother. We are told of her criminal history, which includes domestic violence, amongst other things, but we're not told of any potential charges being made against her, and that is very concerning. I can only presume that charges will be made against the mother, and I do hope that they're going to be very serious charges. She literally kicked out her 5-year-old daughter from the family home, forced her to live in a homeless camp in the woods, basically handed her on a platter to the mentally ill, to psychopaths, and subsequently defenseless 5-year-old Zoey Felix was again awed and murdered. The mother has to pay. The mother has to be held accountable. Okay, fine. She wasn't present, presumably, when these heinous acts were taking place, but she subjected Zoey to these risks. I mean, even if we were to just ignore the whole neglect aspect of it and the mental abuse, the emotional abuse aspect of it, she has to pay. The mother absolutely has to pay. Absolutely awful neglect of a child and endangerment of a child. I mean, come on, Kansas. The community, society needs to be told that the mother is going to be held accountable. So I do hope that information is made public, is publicized by the media soon. But I will say that I suspect that this case has already run its course, for now at least. I've seen a couple of articles. My preference is the Daily Mail articles. They normally give a good amount of information. They normally have a number of relevant photographs. They give us as good as an insight to the awful tragedies as really any other publication, but they're only going to cover this for a day or two, and then, you know, the world moves on, the media moves on, and it's a real shame. I hope the local community of Topeka gets the answers that it needs to heal, and of course, again, the family and friends of the victim, notably her father. We're not too familiar with her father. I'm not sure if he lived in the family home. I'm guessing that he didn't. Actually, I think the article told me. Well, no, the article doesn't tell us too much about the father. We know his name, Ezekiel Felix-Guerrero, but we're really not given too much information about him at all. We don't know if he was living at the family home. I presume he wasn't, but that could be wrong. So I'm going to wrap things up at this point. If you appreciate the coverage, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. If you're in a position to join my memberships, that would be great. Drop a super thanks, that would be lovely. But it's perfectly fine if you're not able to do that. It's perfectly fine if that doesn't happen. I'm going to carry on trying to make videos regularly, and I'll thank you very much for your time. Take care.